Is there something about Mars we don't know?
A lot of people feel that it's definitely a cover-up.
Danielle then got right inside the skin of the killer, whom she believed was the murdered woman's husband.
When I invoked the name of Jesus against that, the person was thrown all the way across the room.
From the boundaries of the universe to the depth of your soul, embark on a journey through the unknown and unexplained as we explore mysteries, magic, and miracles. Hello and welcome. I'm Patrick Macnee. Today, we investigate the psychic power of the mind and pay a visit to the Prince of Darkness. But first, we'll delve into the mysteries of the universe. Do you believe there could be life on other planets? Should astronauts encounter extraterrestrials, NASA appears to have issued the following guidelines. Don't tell anybody. Our first mission to Mars posed new theories questioning the existence of a possible civilization. If so, what will the future hold? In 1976, the Viking mission to Mars sent back striking photographs of the planet's surface. These photos show artificial structures on a Martian area called Cydonia.
This is the object that is referred to as the face on Mars.
Stanley McDaniel, Professor Emeritus at Sonoma State University and Mars researcher, has extensively analyzed independent scientific evidence of the structures on Mars and NASA's arguments against further exploration of the area.
I found some material on it back in 1985 or so, and when the Mars Observer was launched, I became interested in it again. The other people are the researchers. I'm not a researcher who's studied the objects from the scientific point of view. What I've done is evaluated their research. My principal aim is to clarify the issues surrounding this subject. I found that their methods and techniques they've employed have been very sound and in keeping with what science is supposed to do. There's the eye socket shadow. There is another eye socket over here, but not as clear in this particular photo. How could you tell if an object on the surface of Mars is artificial? Well, you have to apply a number of different tests. You can't simply apply astronomical or physical tests or geological tests. You might have to apply criteria from archaeology or from architecture or even from symbolic methods of communication.
Researchers from the Mars investigation team believe these formations to be the ruins of intelligently designed structures.
Well, the face is what's called geologically a knob. Sometimes it's referred to as a mesa. It's about 1.5 miles long by a mile wide, so it's quite large. And it is an object which has the three-dimensional shape of a face. Here's the mouth, and if you look closely, you can see the apparent teeth in the mouth. It looks like a face because it has features we typically associate with a face.
Yet, NASA refuses to believe mounting scientific evidence for these formations.
NASA has taken the position that the entire thing is a fabrication of people who just want to make a lot of money or a lot of publicity. They say no matter how complex it looks, it's all a product of wind erosion. So you get this face that has an apparent pupil in the eye, apparent teeth in the mouth, a symmetrical headpiece, some hints of decoration, and every bit of it is produced by wind erosion. This has been referred to the shape here as the headpiece, and there are actually some apparently like decorative crossed lines right here on the forehead of the object.
Although the photographs do not constitute proof, they do pose enough doubt as to the origins of the structures, whether they are natural or artificial, to warrant closer inspection.
NASA believes that these objects and the theory that some of them may be artificial has no scientific interest, and the priorities for what they photograph on Mars in the upcoming missions are based on scientific interest.
The original photos of the face were actually misfiled and stumbled upon by two researchers.
It was a very important piece of evidence, and for it to have been misfiled was a strange coincidence. From the face, about 8 miles away to the west, there's a complex of structures that at first glance, some of them look pretty much like mountains, but if you look more closely, they have very peculiar features.
Recently, a new mission to Mars was launched to gather newer, higher quality photographs of the surface. However, on August the 21st, 1993, NASA announced the observer was lost just 3 days before its scheduled orbit around Mars.
Some people think that possibly alien spacecraft destroyed it. I have no way of knowing if that could be the case. And so this area has been called, quote, the city.
It has been suggested the loss of the Mars observer wasn't in fact a loss at all. What if the observer is currently photographing Mars secretly and not informing the public of its findings?
Now, this is the feature near the city, what's called the city. We don't know if it really is a city. And it's been termed the fort. Well, I believe there's a question, but I don't know the answer to that question.
Most shocking in the debate for more research on Mars is famous astronomer Carl Sagan's view on the subject.
Carl Sagan was on the Viking imaging team back in 1976 when the Viking orbiters took these photos. Some critics, such as Carl Sagan, for example, have tried to imply that this is just a psychological projection and that people are just imagining it, but I can't see that at all. Looking at the object called the face, I don't see how anyone could deny that it looks like a face. There's a stream bed, or what looks like it may have been an ancient stream that moves along like this and ends up right at the tip of this cut here.
Is there something about Mars we don't know?
A lot of people feel that, that it's definitely a cover-up. I have to admit that NASA's behavior with regard to this issue seems impossible to explain from a legitimate point of view. It may be simply that they just don't get the point. If there was habitation there, it could have taken place 1 million years ago, more than 1 million years ago, or thousands and thousands of years ago. Also, it could have been beings or people who lived in closed environments that were protected from the Martian atmosphere. Some people have speculated that this may have been something like a reservoir. Richard Hoagland has hypothesized that some of the structures there were actually closed environments for underground living.
Perhaps future exploration of Mars will prove to be one of the greatest scientific discoveries in human history. What would you say if I told you to pack a suitcase? We're going on a vacation to the moon. Not in your lifetime. NASA is currently developing a space vehicle which will make the shuttle obsolete in just a few years and provide accessible transportation for the adventurous tourist. Test flights have already begun on the Delta Clipper in the deserts of New Mexico. These spaceships can provide routine tourist flights before 2010 and hotels by 2020. Discussions are already underway with major hotel chains. I hear there's a restaurant on Mars already. Great food, but no atmosphere. When a high-profile murder hits the headlines, homicide detectives are under pressure to crack the case. Officially, the police won't admit to using psychics, but when leads dry up, many detectives turn to them for help. Do psychics really aid police by using second sight to bring new evidence to light? We decided to investigate the psychic detective.
Throughout history, people have claimed to be gifted with second sight. In the Middle Ages, Joan of Arc heard inner voices that told her she was divinely appointed to defeat the British. Abraham Lincoln witnessed his own funeral in a precognitive dream. And Winston Churchill had premonitions during World War II, which he believed helped him outsmart Hitler. In ancient times, people spoke of prophecies and miracles. In our more enlightened age, the experiencing individual is said to be psychic. Meet psychic Donielle Patton and her husband, Ron Gordon. Together, they work as psychic detectives with law enforcement agencies throughout California.
So how do the two of you work together, and how does your operation work as far as helping the police?
What happens is sometimes law enforcement will get a hold of me, and sometimes I'm just sitting at home and something will happen to somebody somewhere, and I will feel the vibrations, and I'll get the feelings of what's going on, and I'll tell Ron what happened.
I'll ask her questions as to what happened to her, what is she feeling, and she'll actually feel the pain and the emotions at the time of the death.
Law enforcement officers will tell you what they need to help solve a crime is tangible evidence and plausible witnesses. So how useful are psychic detectives? I asked Captain Daniel Burt of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department.
Murders have gotten so complicated today, and they're so tough to solve, that we accept assistance from just any quarter of the community. Certainly you can't discount the assistance of a psychic.
Detective Louis Danoff has been a law enforcement officer for 28 years. He specializes in long-term unsolved homicides and has often made headlines by using psychics.
I have used psychics because I have no idea where to look. I've exhausted all of my, any leads that I have. They all come up negative, and I basically want to find this body.
Detective Danoff asked Donielle to come in on a case where a woman was missing, presumed murdered. She invited me to go along.
Hi, Maria, is Detective Danoff here? He's expecting us.
I'll be with you in just a minute.
Thank you.
Now, do you actually work in this area?
Sometimes I'll look at cases in this area, but usually they have me in an interview room, like a room that they put a suspect in.
Come on over to my desk over here.
Right.
As Detective Danoff tells us about the case, Donielle goes into a trance, which she later describes as the dead woman coming into her body.
What's going on?
She then starts frantically sketching.
And then there's like a sliding glass door?
Yeah.
Okay, and there's like a...
What Donielle is drawing is the victim's house, where she senses the woman was murdered.
She has never been in the house. She's never been in the backyard.
And she drew this picture.
Yeah.
Donielle then got right inside the skin of the killer, whom she believed was the murdered woman's husband.
I am what you want me to be. I'm a chameleon. And that way you're not going to catch me. He doesn't know how to control his emotions. Once he lets go, once he's gone over the edge, it's really hard to get him back.
And is his character in your mind a lot like Donielle has said?
Yes. Very much so. He's playing with me.
Later, I asked Detective Danoff if Donielle's thoughts about the killer agreed with his.
Yes.
Did you come about it from two different ways?
She came about it by herself.
Donielle has been involved in numerous high-profile homicide cases. Could she shed any light on the O.J. Simpson case?
What do you see happen inside there?
She turned because she was going to go back in the house. He had a knife in a pocket, and he pulled it out. And when she turned around to walk back into the house, and he was behind her, and he pulled her back.
Are you feeling cold right now?
I believe that O.J. lost control, went over with the intent, took a knife with him, and committed the murder. He ended up murdering her because now it's over and he's still in control. And O.J.'s having nightmares, but he's not really dealing with it. He's not sleeping well at night. He's having a really hard time with everything that's happened.
Although to relive a murder is very traumatic for a psychic, Donielle willingly helps law enforcement agencies with homicide, rape, or missing person cases, and she receives no payment for her services.
If you don't get paid for this, why do you do it?
Because it makes me feel good to be able to help, number one. And number two, I want to get these people off the street.
Now I have to ask this, Ron. Is it, like, intimidating or scary living with a psychic who knows what you're thinking?
No, not at all. We have a very good relationship, and it works out real well, the way we work with each other and in our professional life as well as our personal life.
Whether you believe in psychic detectives or not, Danielle and Ron will continue to fight crime in their own unique way, because they say it's the right thing to do.
He's been known as Beelzebub and Lucifer, that sly devil, the ruler of hell. We can't see him, but we know he's there. Is the Prince of Darkness alive and well and living in your neighborhood? Many believe he is.
Does the devil really exist here on earth? Is he just the representation of the evil side of man? Or is Satan among us? Father John Hamsch enlightened us on the forces of evil.
After years of experience, I have concluded that anyone who doesn't believe that the devil exists is simply exposing his ignorance or lack of experience. I'm convinced of that. The devil is an entity, an intelligent, super intelligent entity, has a personhood, is not a vague abstract force, and he is one who is at enmity with God and at enmity with all humans whom he wants to destroy.
The Bible talks about the enemy of man in Ephesians 6:12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the principalities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms.
Yes, I think everyone has seen the work of the devil, although many have not recognized it, but it's very obvious everywhere. More dramatic presences of the devil are manifested through things like Satanism or lesser forms of demonic intervention, such as poltergeist activities and things of that sort.
Possession is the most extreme form of demonic involvement, and for a priest, an exorcism is the most dangerous act to perform.
In the Catholic Church, it's very conservatively approached, because only bishops or priests assigned by a bishop in any given diocese can perform a formal exorcism. Anyone can perform a deliverance, a mild deliverance, by simply prayer for the healing from the contamination. As Jesus said in Mark 16:17, those who believe in me can cast out demons in my name by my power. So those who believe in the Lord have access to that. But real possession is extremely dangerous. For instance, I was sort of accidentally involved in an exorcism in praying over a lady one time who was sitting on a couch, and she just had some relatively minor complaints that I kind of suspected might be a spirit of infirmity, so I prayed generally a very superficial type of prayer. And when I invoked the name of Jesus against the forces of evil that might be there, when I invoked the name of Jesus against that, the person was thrown, I mean literally thrown from the couch all the way across the room and curled up in a fetal position behind a lamp in the corner. And it was a violent reaction to the invocation of Jesus to attack the forces of evil that were there. They responded with extreme fear.
The Catholic Church believes the devil exists and wants to take possession of your soul.
Depending upon the proclivity of the individual, how much they're amenable to this type of invasion, they will have this or that level of demonic intervention. A person who commits himself to the devil is submitting to the enemy of God. And it's one of the worst things he could possibly ever do, because he will pay what we call in demonology the devil's compensation. He may, by committing himself to the devil, selling his soul, as it were, they may attain some very powerful things, but eventually they will pay for it, and pay for it 100-fold. You pay the devil ultimately for any kind of covenant or contract you make with the devil. In a sense, we're the battlefield of this spiritual warfare between God and the devil, trying to win our souls. We have a free will by which we can go to either side of the fence we want. We can cooperate with God and follow his revelation that tells us what to do, or we can follow the devil and succumb to our natural proclivities as a result of original sin.
Father Hampsch will continue to fight this battle against demonic forces because he truly believes that the power of God's love is greater than any devil.
Whether we believe in the devil or not, we throw his name around almost daily in the English language. We say expressions like between the devil and the deep blue sea when faced with a tough decision, or people complain there'll be the devil to pay when worried about a problem. We can answer by telling them the devil may care, or for the sake of argument, we can play the devil's advocate. Like it or not, the devil is very much a part of our lives. You may want to think twice before you use the expression the devil made you do it. I'm Patrick Macnee. Join me next time for more mysteries, magic, and miracles.